As a junior officer, were you ever required to make a pledge of political loyalty? Yes or no? For anyone who cares about us being a neutral institution, this was shameful. If those are the facts, and I know the Army is investigating at least the MAGA pop-up shop, is that appropriate, General Kane?
There's never one time in my service or in this
Mr.
Defense
Secretary,
Department.
will you please answer
I'm answering your
these
question
questions?
where politics has been considered for service members.
Are you familiar with this directive? General Kane, one last question for you. Should soldiers have to pledge political loyalty to participate in an event with our Commander-in-Chief?
In America, there has always been one clear line: we never cross the armed forces, are not a political weapon. Our military serves the Constitution, not a party, not a president, and certainly not a campaign slogan. That's been the standard from the Revolutionary War through today. But recent disturbing developments at Fort Bragg, one of the most storied military installations in the country, have shaken that foundation. What exactly happened? Allegations have surfaced that soldiers of the 18th Airborne Corps were advised that if they had political views opposing the current administration, they should get swapped out before attending an official event with the Commander-in-Chief. That alone raises serious red flags. But it gets worse. Around the same time, there was a pop-up shop on the base selling MAGA merchandise, turning a military event into what looked more like a political rally.
Goes back. Chair, and I recognize the gentleman from New York, Mr. Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you both for being here. We have all worn the uniform. We've all served in combat. We all love our country. We all revere our troops. And I really want to speak with you both, not as partisans, but as patriots. And I want to talk specifically about the events at Fort Bragg the other day. General Kane, I want to start with you. As a junior officer, were you ever required to make a pledge of political loyalty? Yes or no?
Sir, as you know, we're an apolitical military, so, no.
Thank you. At any time in your 30-plus years of incredibly distinguished service, did you have to make a pledge of partisan or political loyalty?
No, sir.
Thank you. Did you ever serve in any unit or command at any level where service members were required to make a pledge of political loyalty?
No, sir.
Thank you. And I want to commend you. You've been on the record on this, including in your confirmation hearings where you clarified, quote, "I've never worn any political merchandise or said anything to that effect." I appreciate that. That is the standard, and commend you for saying so and continuing to model that. General Kane, one last question for you. Should soldiers have to pledge political loyalty to participate in an event with our Commander-in-Chief? Yes or no, please?
Sir, I'm not, first, no. I'm not aware of any time in history that soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines have been asked to do that. I think
I'm sorry, General, I do want to, just in the interest of time, I want to talk about what happened at Fort Bragg 2 days ago. There was guidance put out, and this has been verified by multiple independent news outlets, saying, quote, these are to the soldiers of the 18th Airborne Corps and the U.S. Army. If soldiers have political views that are in opposition to the current administration, then they need to speak with their leadership and get swapped out. This is swapped out of the event with the president. In addition, in an incredibly disturbing incident, there was a pop-up shop selling MAGA merchandise on post at Fort Bragg. And to summarize this, there was a commander from Bragg who said on the record, quote, "This has been a bad week for the Army. For anyone who cares about us being a neutral institution, this was shameful." If those are the facts, and I know the Army is investigating at least the MAGA pop-up shop, is that appropriate, General Kane?
Sir, I haven't seen any of these reports. I'm not familiar with them, but as I mentioned earlier and in my confirmation hearing, the nation demands a apolitical, nonpartisan military.
I appreciate you saying that and happy to share those reports. Secretary Hegth, are you familiar with DoD Directive 1344.10? Political activities of the members of the armed forces?
Well, first off, I don't buy into your
yes or no?
insinuation
Are you familiar
that pledges
with,
are being done under this administration. That's
I reclaim my time. Are you familiar with this DoD directive?
There's never one time in my service or in this
Mr.
Defense
Secretary,
Department.
will you please
I'm
answer
answering your
these
question
questions?
where politics has been considered for service members.
Are you familiar with this directive?
This is not just improper, it may be a violation of long-standing Department of Defense policies, specifically DoD Directive 1344.10, which bans partisan political activities by active duty personnel. So the question is not just about what happened at Fort Bragg, it's about whether America's military is starting to be dragged into partisan warfare. And if that line is crossed, it threatens to erode the trust that every American, regardless of party, should have in their armed forces. In a heated congressional hearing, Representative Ryan from New York confronted General Kane and Secretary of Defense Hegth, pressing them hard on this very issue. Did they support loyalty pledges? Were they aware of this political merchandise on base? What are they going to do about it? And perhaps most dramatically, he called on the Secretary of Defense to resign. This isn't just a debate about hats or campaign slogans. It's about the integrity of the military, the future of civilian control of the armed forces, and what kind of democracy we want to pass on to the next generation.
Yes or no?
Which directive?
DoD Directive 1344.10. I'm happy to provide you a copy. There's even a one-page red and green cheat sheet. Are you familiar with it? This is the same directive from when we were all in uniform.
I'm sure I am.
Has anything changed in that directive under your guidance, given what happened 2 days ago at Fort Bragg? Is there a new policy change that we're not aware of?
Again, I totally reject your insinuation.
Is there a policy change to DoD Directive 1344.10?
I know what you're attempting to insinuate, but there's
I'll
no
take that as a
policy
no.
change and there is no policy.
Mr. Secretary, have you ever worn a MAGA hat in front of the troops?
I own plenty of MAGA hats, but I don't.
Have you
know
ever
that I
worn
have.
one in front of the troops at an official event? I don't
I'm
believe
aware
so.
of.
I don't believe so. Do you think it's appropriate for the President of the United States to wear political merchandise, including a MAGA hat, at official events, including West Point commencement?
The Commander-in-Chief
Yes or no?
can wear whatever hat he wants to include the phrase, "Make America Great Again," because I would like to
you
make
think
America
that's-
great again as well.
So you think that's appropriate?
The Commander-in-Chief has the right in front of his troops to wear whatever he'd like.
Okay, I strongly disagree with you. And I urge you both, especially you, General Kane, as we see an increasingly political rhetoric, including from the Secretary, to please, for the good of our troops, this is an incredibly difficult moment, and we need leaders like you to continue to echo the apolitical nature. I have 12 seconds. Mr. Secretary, I don't say this lightly. I have to say this on the record. I think your tenure as Secretary of Defense has been shameful and weak, and you should resign. I yield back.
Gentlemen.